All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here for the special meeting of the New Hanover County Board of Education. It is 2 o'clock on Thursday, October 28th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Ms. Bowie, if you could please call the roll. And just as a reminder to board members, since this is a fully Zoom meeting, please make sure at any time you speak during this meeting to say your name prior to sharing any information today. All right, Ms. Bowie?
Good afternoon. Ms. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Bullier.
Here.
Ms. Justice.
Here.
Ms. Craybill.
Here.
Mr. McManus.
Here.
Ms. Walker.
Here.
And Mr. Wildebohr.
Present.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Bowie. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Approve, Mr. Bullier.
Mr. Wildebohr, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Bullier.
Thank you, Mr. Bullier. We have a first and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, we will roll call vote. Ms. Bowie, please.
Ms. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Bullier.
Aye.
Ms. Justice.
Aye.
Ms. Craybill.
Aye.
Mr. McManus.
Yes.
Ms. Walker.
Yes.
And Mr. Wildebohr.
Yes.
Very much. Agenda is approved 7-0. Next item on our agenda is potential student and staff calendar changes. To introduce this item, I will just simply share that this board recognizes that it has been a tough year. And we know that our families are burnt out, our staff and teachers are burnt out, and we would like to discuss the option of a potential wellness day. Particularly looking at November 12th, which is coming up. Veterans Day obviously is a holiday for the district. It's a Thursday. So we'd like to discuss options for potentially giving staff and teachers off on November 12th. I would like to first start with Dr. Faust, if you could just, or a designee, to explain to us the options that you have shared if for us to vote on, or what are the ideas that we could do for what is a teacher workday option versus an annual leave day option, please.
I'm going to have Dr. Barnes, and if I think it's Ms. Bagby, if she will switch to the traditional draft calendar, so it will help you understand what we're getting ready to explain.
Great, thank you. Dr. Barnes.
Yes, good morning, everyone. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Great.
I'm well. So we talked about a couple of different options for the November 12th day, which is sort of a weird day stuck out there in the middle of November where we have the Thursday off, but the Friday currently is not. So we floated a few different solutions. One of those is to work to continue to maintain our instructional hours. And a couple of things that we'll talk about in a minute, but we really offered three options that we could think of. One would be to switch. There is a designated work day on November 24th. You could flip those 2 days and have the 12th be the work day and the 24th be a student day, and maintain the number of instructional hours you currently have for students. There is some movement. You could create that as an undesignated work day instead of designated and do some movement there. So that would be an undesignated work day, which is obviously what I think you would be thinking of. But there is the ability to shift those 2 days, one for the other, and create a work day on that day and still maintain the number of instructional hours we have in the fall semester. So that's option one.
Can I clarify what you're saying? Or should I wait until the end? Because I don't want to lose this question.
Oh, I may have explained it badly. Let me try one more time. Currently on our current calendar, you see November 24th is listed as a designated teacher work day. You could create a student day on that 24th and shift that work day to the 12th.
But students would be attending on the 24th?
That would mean, and that's why we called it maintaining our instructional hours, which means we would keep the same number of instructional hours that we currently have for students. So as you
That's
know-
what I wanted to clarify. That's what I thought you said.
Yes, ma'am. And I guess I added to it by saying that you could create a situation where that's an undesignated instead of a designated workday. Designated workdays, everyone's required to attend. Undesignated, it is at your discretion.
So board members, I just want to remind you, this information was sent to you a few days ago regarding the options
I
for
know.
November 12th. So so that's option one. Ms. Crable, do you have a question
Yeah,
specific?
I
to
just
this
wanted
one?
to make a suggestion too, because I am, kind of following Judy sometimes. If you don't ask your question right away, then you forget or you lose your train of thought. But maybe if we can put our questions in the chat so that we can hold them all to the end and get all the options, that might be helpful. I just wanted to throw that out there as a suggestion so we
That's
can
a
hear them all and then
that's a
not
great
lose our train
suggestion.
of thought.
And so just following that one we're calling maintaining instructional hours. So our second option would be a swap with an existing undesignated teacher workday. And we provided 3 for you to think about. But for the regular traditional calendar, we currently have an undesignated teacher workday. If you scroll up a little bit on the calendar, please. I'll scroll down then, sorry. I meant go back to January. January 5th is listed there as an undesignated teacher workday. You could shift that day to the 12th of November and have students return to school on the 5th of January instead of the 6th. So that is option 2. And then option 3 is to just eliminate the instructional hours completely and create an additional optional teacher workday in the calendar. So option 1 maintains the instructional time for the fall semester. Option 2 maintains the instructional time for the year because it really takes it out of the second semester, puts it in the first. And the third option is to eliminate the day completely, understanding that we would sacrifice those 6.5 hours of direct instruction for the year.
Hugh McManus, I apologize for coming back and switching the first day and coming back a different day. What was the day we'd switch with?
So option A, if we want to maintain the number of instructional hours we have in the fall semester,
I got that one.
Switch it with November 24th.
I'm sorry. Beginning of the next year.
If we did it for the one that would trade it for in January, it would be January 5th.
With?
And put that yellow where it is 5 on January, move that to the 12th of November.
Oh, okay. I was hoping. Okay.
Just move that teacher.
So there's not another designated day in. I'm looking for another yellow.
There's not another yellow in fall semester unless we decide to come back that week of Christmas, and that probably would be counterproductive, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But we did not put that as a solution. Of course, that can be something you would consider, but that would bring students back for one day.
Or the loss of an instructional day. So that's 3 options.
And then the third option is just to eliminate the instructional time completely and add that as a teacher workday.
Judy Justice, I'd like to ask a question. How many instructional hours overall at the moment, the way everything stands, do we have for the whole school year?
I have that written down. We currently have 79 instructional days in the fall and 90 instructional days in the spring. And we put that sort of, actually, I think, I'm sorry, it has it listed as 91 and 80. I'm sorry, I must have shifted a day somewhere. So there are 91 days in the spring. There are only 80 days in the fall. So one of our concerns and considerations we wanted you to think about was the fact that we already have a disparity between the number of instructional hours in the spring semester and the fall semester, and taking away an additional day would further sort of separate those two. The concern would be a child taking biology in the fall or the spring. If I take this biology in the spring, there's significantly more instructional hours available for the content than there would be in the fall.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I understand that, and you're right. They had sent that to us earlier. I'm trying to find out overall, as of right now, in our overall calendar, you gave me the amount of instructional days, which, how many instructional days for the whole year do we have for the school year currently? Both semesters. I'm not trying to split them up right now. I'm trying to figure out a whole picture, broad picture.
171, I believe.
That's what it sounded like. The state requires 185, correct?
They require, they give some caveats in that rule. They require 185 student days or 1,025 contact instructional hours.
Okay. So how many contact instructional hours do we have right now?
I am telling you that right now. For the whole year, 1,111.
Oh, so we have 1,100.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that correct? We have 11 and we are required to have
1025.
1025. Okay, well, they're good. All right,
Okay.
now, thank you. That's good information. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I do want to just also say that is a minimum required. You know, you can certainly do more than the minimum.
Right. This is a very unusual year in many ways.
Amen.
So to the board members, the three options were maintaining instructional hours, which is flipping the November 12th with November 24th, swapping with an existing undesignated teacher workday, which were the dates in January, and one would be for March for restart schools, or eliminate a student day for optional teacher workday on November 12th. And so I'd like to open the floor for discussion on what your thoughts are on that. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Barnes, you still have is there still more there?
Would it be okay? There's a couple of other considerations I just wanted to mention.
Sure, please.
Our new teachers and new employees accrue, for teachers accruing personal time, they accrue a certain number of annual leave days in a year and a certain number of personal days in a year. Newer teachers accrue at a lower rate than teachers with more experience do. All 10 of the new teachers' annual leave days are taken up in this calendar already as it stands. As you see, there are some days at Christmas. There are some days for spring break that are colored in red. Though, or I guess it's a rose color. It's very nice. Those are annual leave days that we build into the calendar for the teachers. So new teachers don't have additional annual leave days to use. They also have a limited amount of personal days in a year. Understanding that regardless of what we call the 12, there may be a significant number of our newer teachers who would have to work, whether it's undesignated work day or not, simply because they don't accrue enough time to spend that all in a day like this. So just being aware that not every teacher would be able to take that as a day off simply because they don't have the time built in the calendar. The other consideration,
without instruction.
I'm sorry.
Unless we drop the instructional day period and just gave it to them.
Well, we can't just give it to them. They have to take leave of some kind. So even if we made it a teacher work day, as we're talking about doing, some of them may still have to work simply because they don't have the leave to take in that spot.
Hello.
Ms. Justice.
Yes, you gave us three options. What about snow days?
We currently, and that's where some of these additional hours are banked for, is if we have a snow event, then we eliminate those from that 1,100 number that we spoke of earlier.
Right. It doesn't necessarily have to be snow. It can be hurricanes. It can be emergencies, correct?
It can be hurricanes as well.
Oh, well, mental health could be an emergency also.
And I'm certainly not advocating for any drug. I'm just trying to make sure that I inform you guys about the considerations we had thought of in regards to that. I just know that it's difficult for new teachers who don't have that sort of leave built up. The other consideration would be our 10-month employees who work, bus drivers, cafeteria workers are two of our sort of larger populations of those groups. If we make an undesignated teacher workday, if we use option 3 and eliminate that student day, it does eliminate their pay for that day as well.
But a snow day, everybody would get paid, correct? And there wouldn't be, leave wouldn't be a factor.
I am not familiar with what we do in New Hanover County Schools. I would have to kick that back. I'm not sure what that answer would be.
So let me, I'm going to make sure that all the board members are getting their availability or their questions in here. I see Ms. Crable has had her hand raised, and I believe Mr. Wildeboer has his hand raised, and then Mr. McManus. So let's go Ms. Crable, Mr. Wildeboer, Mr. McManus.
Okay, I feel like a moron. I've been trying to raise my hand with the reactions, but I can't find the hand raise. So if someone wanted to send me information on how to do that, I would appreciate it. But all right, so a couple things that I wanted to say. First of all, it was my understanding that the November the 24th was a holiday and not an undesignated day. So that really wouldn't be not a holiday. It's a vacation day or a holiday. So it's not really a complete straight up swap for undesignated. So is that correct?
What
No.
we be able
It's
to
listed
do,
as under,
It,
it is listed as a vacation day. What we could do is move the vacation day to an undesignated work day that already is in the calendar, and then move that.
okay. All right. So that would be fine. All right, so what I did want, I just wanted to say that I am not interested in swapping out days, because my interest in this day, and everybody else will certainly have their time to say, but my interest in this day on Friday, November the 12th, is strictly for a mental health day that we need right at this moment. That we can't predict what it's going to be like in January, or I mean, I'm thinking if we're going to do it, we should do something like halfway between January and spring break. But we're not here to debate that extra day right here, right now. But so it was also my understanding from just talking with some people in the school district that an undesignated workday does not necessarily have to mean a day with no pay for a lot of our employees. That a lot more of our employees have accrued. And so there will be some employees, which I hate, that would not get the option to come or not come. But I'm just trying to figure out what is the lesser of the two evils. The other thing that I do want us to think about, and I've thought really hard about, and tried to poll some parents, is will our parents be able to find childcare for their students on Friday? All of our parents had to find childcare for Thursday, so I'm hoping that maybe that they would be able to roll that in, that daycare over from Thursday to Friday. And I am hoping that a lot of our daycare partners would, have day camps on the day of November the 11th, which they already have planned for, that could possibly do the same thing. But so yeah, I just kind of wanted to, go on the record saying that I am for this day only, not swapping. We can reevaluate. The main thing about swapping is, the big thing about a calendar is that people can plan. People can go on vacations. People can just, have their, or not go on vacations. But that day, January 5th, I mean, people could have already, made airplane reservations and hotel reservations and are not planning on coming back. And so and some principals, from what I understand, have already made that a designated work day. So, for different sorts of training, specifically the letters training. So that's what I wanted to do. That and I actually have talked to some employees who said, you know what, I don't care if I get paid or not. I would like to have this mental health day to be at home, or I will come in and support the school in whatever way, whatever opportunity that is given to me. So that's what I just wanted to throw out there.
Mr.
Obviously, I
Wildebohr?
want to do what's best for
Yay,
kids. And
I
I
got
want
in.
to protect, instruction time.
Thank you, Ms. Graybill. Mr. Wildebohr?
Thank you. Well, I've done a kind of a mini data dive. I've called multiple principals, assistant principals today, and got some feedback on how they feel their staff feels. And I think that's number one thing we need to look at. We've gotten a lot of emails additionally, but there's the same thing I heard time and time again is if people are just tired. So I would agree that we definitely need to find a way to take the 12th off. And I would agree that, we need to look at options. I hate to lose instructional time for sure, but I think one of our constituents sent us an email saying, is a tired, worn out TA or teacher better than somebody that's revitalized? And, losing those 6 hours is important, especially in a shorter semester. However, I think it is very, very vital that we do this for our staffs. I mean, so I think it's very important. I would agree with the 5th. I mean, I guess we could look at, was that June 6th, maybe flipping that, I know that wasn't an option given, but, maybe flipping that up into that day, and then just, doing it that way. But that's an option. We could even add a day at the end of the year. I mean, people don't really want to do that, I'm sure, but, or we can use some of the, the saved up hours. I mean, that's where we are, is we have extra hours. Hopefully we won't have a lot of snow or hurricanes or whatever, but, I think I want to echo that it's vital we take the 12th off, give folks an opportunity to have that 4-day weekend, and revitalize so they can finish strong in the first semester. So thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. McManus, and then Ms. Walker's hand is up. So we'll go from Mr. McManus to Ms. Walker.
Ms. Adams, can I just chime in real quick?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so
Mr. Shive.
Just to kind of help explain why we can't just give the day to staff. What that really means is that we can't use state or federal funds to pay staff not to work. And so I've been interested in several of these discussions with other boards who are trying to do something with November 12th. And one option is to use local funds to pay all staff that day. Obviously, that's going to be an expense. And there's no issue there of giving them a locally funded day off. That's one option you could do. I don't know what the expense would be for that. Another option that I've seen is to make November 12th a remote work day, and to assign folks duties so that they're not working, but they're not having to physically show up in the school building. I don't know if administrations explored that issue, but I just wanted to note that I think we do have a little bit of flexibility in terms of how we assign duties to staff that day, with the basic principle being that we can't pay folks not to do nothing. They have to be completing, it could be training, professional development, lesson planning, but they have to be doing something if they are going to be receiving pay for that day or taking leave.
Thank you, Mr. Shive. Okay, so let's go back into Mr. McManus, and then to Ms. Walker, please.
Thank you. Well, first, Craybill asked the same questions I was going to, well, at least several questions. Thank you for asking, because I wanted that answer. We have to come back to this if possible, but I think Judy's got a viable question considering what's gone on for the last year and a half about a mental day as a day of whether it's a hurricane or a storm. I really like that idea if we could make it work. 3, that might have been me when I was talking to Pete, but I said, a lost day of instruction when teachers are at 40% or less, and then they come back at 50%, it amounts to a great deal more of instructional presentation than it does with the lost time. So, and I haven't heard about the remote opportunity. So that sounds so far something that's viable, but we need to take that day and we need to continue to plan for more. We've got to support our staff, all of our staff. And I know a lot of people don't like it, and it's not going to be perfect. It may even create issues for some, and I'm sorry for that. I don't know, but we've got to do something. We've got to listen to what they're saying. And I'm sorry, but I've been there. A lot of us have. They need it. They deserve it. They've earned it. And I'm not going to apologize for whatever it costs us if that's what we have to do, or just a day of lost instructional time. I just think that it's absolutely necessary and should be our first priority. I really do.
Thank you, Mr. McManus. Ms. Walker.
Thank you. I agree with all of you guys. I think we all agree that the teachers need some kind of mental health day, and probably all of us do. I would just like to do whatever the best option is. I do like the idea that Mr. McManus and Judy Justice brought up regarding potentially working out, I don't know, call it a snow day for lack of a better word. I guess I never heard Colin's discussion on not being able to get them paid for that. I would like more information on that. And I also agree with you as well regarding, I don't know how, I know we're not going to make everybody happy, but I've heard also that there's a lot of people taking off that day anyway, so it might be better to do it. Anyway, because I like to say, if the instructional time is going to be lost, I can't see a scenario right now, whether there's a lot of staff taking off, maybe anyway, where the instruction is going to be that one Friday is going to be this quality. I mean, 6.5 hours. I mean, to some people might seem like a lot, but I think, if you lost that on a snow day or hurricane day, it would be kind of the same thing. But my feelings are, I just like to do the best option. If Colin can add any more, I don't know. He said he's been with districts that have done this. I would like to know what they've done. Most of them have done, if he could tell us.
Yeah, there've been a variety of approaches, but one is to make it an optional work day, and staff can either take leave, or they can it can be a remote work day, or you can work with administration to assign them particular duties so they don't actually have to come into the building. My point being, there's some flexibility for administration to assign folks duties that day, so that they can be paid that day if they don't have leave to take.
Okay. Well, I just want to add, I'm also with Ms. Crable. I don't like the idea of swapping days. I feel like the whole point is giving them a day, and to just swap it just kind of seems like that's not really the point. So I agree.
I want to jump in here really quick. Dr. Faust would like to jump into this conversation. And then I saw Ms. Justice's hand raised and Mr. Wildeboer. So let's go, Dr. Faust. Why don't you go first? Then we'll have Ms. Justice, then Mr. Wildeboer.
Yeah, so a lot of the districts that you're referring to, they have more instructional days. So that's how they're able to, so they may have 176 instructional days. So they're pulling days from there, giving that back. The other part is we have to define it. We just can't say don't come. We have to be able to pay individuals, and we can't call it a holiday if it's not a holiday. There are specifics by law that we have to be able to do. So I think we're in favor of the will of the board, whatever it is. We just have to know how to pay people. We've got to be able to pay them, and we can't just say we're going to give them a day. We've got to call that day. So we've got to be able to say what that day is in order for us to be able to pay individuals, and to actually say we can pay it from local. We're talking about 4,200 employees, and taking that from an encumbered budget that we haven't, this is new money. So you're creating a new expense. So we've got to be able to find out what that would look like. If you're saying use local funds, but we've got to call it something. We can't call it a snow day or a sick day, because even on those days, we provide makeup time for individuals. If you have the hours, but employees have to make up their time at some point. We have to be able to do that. I just want us to make sure that we're clean with it.
Justice?
Okay, well, we can be clean with it. We can, as a board, we can call it what we see it as, which is a social emotional health day due to the effects of the pandemic. It might be a mouthful, but that's what's going on. And that is a fourth option, the emergency snow day, built up hours that we have. I'm surprised that it wasn't on the original proposal, because it's something that, as a school administrator for years and also as a teacher, I've been aware of. So I was very surprised not to see it. Colin, what would you say?
But can I answer? It's not a weather-related day, so we wouldn't have put it on there because it's not weather-related.
Emergency. It is,
but it's not an emergency. It's not. We can't call it an emergency. Those days that are built in, when we're talking, we have weather days that are related. This is not what's considered an emergency, so we can't not. We have to call it what it is. And
Who says it's not an emergency? I mean, you're saying it's not an emergency, and we are all literally saying it is. So it's a judgment call. And I don't doubt that there's other districts across this country that are facing the same situation. We've got to be realistic. This is exactly what's going on here. And I would like to see what kind of comeback from the state or the federal government would be with this kind of evidence. When, as for example, we're not going to have teachers show up on that day. We're not going to have subs to replace them. We're going to have tons of students gone anyway. There's not a lot of learning that's going to go on that day. And the teachers need the relief. Their whole staff needs the relief to know that we're actually backing up them getting the opportunity to recharge so that they can come back and teach more effectively. That's, That's what my concern is that we need to be approaching this from a fix the problem as opposed to we can't because of this, that, and the other.
So just,
Oh, Colin,
just
do you have a,
this is complicated. I'm going to make an attempt to try to clarify a little bit. There's the student hours issue. We have banked hours. So if the board thinks it's in the best interest of the school system, we have banked hours for students. So that's not an issue legally. It's not an issue as far as the calendar goes with not having student instruction that day. In terms of employees, the issue is we cannot pay legally. We cannot use state and federal funds to pay people that day if they're not doing work or they're not taking leave that they have accrued. We can call it a mental health day if we want. If we do that and we say everybody can have the day off, we have to pay them with local funds for that day. We can't use state or federal funds to pay them for a day off that we have created ourselves. We legally just cannot do that.
so to clarify that, Colin, if we wanted to just give everybody the day and pay for the 4,200 employees, we would have to go to our county commissioners and request that dollar amount after having raised teacher pay and all of the other things that they've been doing to support. Is that correct?
Well, either that or we use our whatever we have in fund balance. I'd have to, finance would have to weigh in on how much we have available. And then the other option is to designate it as a teacher work day, to allow staff to take optional, to allow staff to take leave if they want to take leave that day. For those that don't have enough leave or don't want to use their leave, administration can create a plan to assign those folks duties that may or may not require them to actually come on campus. There's some flexibility there. We just need to be able to say with a straight face that we did assign them some duties for that day.
All right, let's go ahead. Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Wildeboer, I know you've been waiting.
Yeah, well, just make sure I'm unmuted. Yes, I am. Just two quick things. One is it does sound like we would have some flexibility there, even if we wanted to, and teachers do this on their own all the time anyway. They plan. So if we said to teachers, that's your, you can use that as your planning day. If you're home planning, I think Colin just gave us the kind of the green light to do that, as far as I understood. But the other option is looking at the calendar. We end, and I know that wasn't one of the ones that was brought up, but we end on a Thursday, which is kind of unusual. So then we have a Friday teacher work day, and we carry on from there. Why don't we just finish the week out? I mean, that would be the easiest thing. People are going to be there anyway. Let them finish out the week, and then have the 31st being a designated work day. I mean, Thursday, Friday, it's not going to make a whole bunch of difference. We're talking about way into May. But if we just take that day and flip it up, we should be able to take care of the whole situation. Just a thought. I know we don't want to flip days, but I mean, as a former educator myself, we're going to work, the teachers are going to be there through Friday. The only difference is we may have to make the 31st a mandatory day, so they would have to come back after the holiday. But I mean, at that point, most teachers are going to be there. I know all the teachers I ever worked with are, packing things up, getting things ready for the summer. So they're going to be there anyway.
All right, I see Mr. Bollier with his hand raised, and he has not commented yet. So let's go to him first, please. You're muted.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. I just wanted to say, I definitely support the 12th. I think it's important. I think it's the right thing to do. But it is not a little deal. It is a big deal. And it's very difficult to navigate these calendars. I've served on that calendar committee. And, it's a house of cards every year. You pull one piece out and it falls down. So, you're looking at something like that Friday. Well, that's going to interfere and mess with graduation. All of that changes. And by the way, end of May, I don't really think that much educational value is in those last 2 days after all that goes away. I think the best thing to do, honestly, is to just do what Ms. Craybill suggested. Let's, knock that day out and move on. That would be my opinion.
Is anyone prepared to make a motion? Because I feel like this conversation is going in circles. Ms. Craybill, I see a hand.
All right. I can't see my hand up, but somebody told me my hand was up. So I would like to make a motion that we call November the 12th an undesignated teacher workday with no other stipulations or strings attached. Straight up, workday, November the 12th.
Second from Mr. Boyer.
McManus, question, I'm sorry.
Well, all right, hold on. So let me just clarify that motion for me, Ms. Craybill. Make November 12th an undesignated, or
Undesignated workday.
undesignated workday, no flipping, no nothing. So losing 6.5 hours of instructional time. Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm
Okay.
sorry for the high school people especially, but I think that we can do it. If our teachers are crawling on the floor, then they're not teaching.
Okay, so November 12th, undesignated workday, no flipping, and Mr. Boyer seconded that. Go ahead, let's open it for discussion. Mr. McManus.
So that would cost teachers a personal day, correct?
Correct.
And those teachers, how many teachers or do we have who are new who do not have a personal workday? Or staff for that fact. Anyone have
Dr. Barnes, you are muted.
Yeah, I know. Story of my life. Sorry. Usually you accrue 2 in a year. It is individualized because some teachers may have not taken their personal time or not. So it really is an individual situation. There will be some that will have that time. There will be some that may not. But it really is individualized.
Well, I like the idea and we'll vote for it, but I would certainly hate for teachers, some have to come in because they don't have an accrued workday yet.
Well, and we do have.
I just had to say that.
And I think that is sort of the norm. There are more undesignated workdays in this calendar than I've seen in other districts or that I've had in the past. So I would assume in general, a lot of our newer teachers are coming in during that time already.
Dr. Barnes, if I could ask a question, Pete Wildeboer. I know at least 100 years ago when I was teaching, we had the ability to share, if I had a colleague or, my wife, when she went out on maternity leave, I was able to give her some days. Is that still a possibility? Is there like a possibility to bank those at all?
You can share sick leave. You're not able to share personal leave.
Okay.
Right.
Sick leave is a situation where, my spouse has a baby and all the teachers in the rally around and they give her their sick time. That's a sick leave only procedure.
Okay.
Ms.
All right,
Ms. Justice, and then Ms. Craybill.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Justice, you're on mute.
I do have a couple comments. I do believe, although Colin says legally we could not do that, I think with some research we could possibly use this as an emergency due to the COVID-related incidents that have been going on the last year and a half for our schools. But beyond that being said, could it be a possibility, Colin? I've got 2 parts to this.
What be a possibility?
Due to the fact that this is a result of what's been going on for COVID for the last year and a half, that this emotional, social, mental health day could be tied into a necessity as opposed to just giving people the day off.
The only way we can do that is if we designated the board chooses designated as such, creates that day off, and then funds it locally.
Okay, so you're saying we can only do that. Okay, that's what you're saying, and I'm not going to go beyond that because I'm not a lawyer, and this isn't the time to do that anyway. On the other hand, you did give us a way out. If we use this as a designated work day and had all the administrators assign this as a planning day at home, can we do that?
It would need to pass the smell test of actually assigning duties. We can't just wink, wink, we're not going to make you do anything. We would actually need to have something, if we were audited by the state, to show what people were doing that day.
Well, then the teachers can grab all their planning and put it in front of the auditors. Teachers constantly plan, and this is the reason we need this, is because they're not getting compensated for the over and above that they're doing. So this would be one way of handling this and not having anybody lose any money, and having all of the staff being able to be paid and still cover what it is that they're doing daily. They're killing themselves doing all this extra work. We need to start recognizing them and it's not punitive, but the result would be if we trade around work days, they're going to end up paying one way or the other, several of them more than others. We need to be supporting them any way we can. And if we all the administrators say this is a designated planning day, There's plenty of stuff that they can pull out and show the state. I know because they do it every darn day on their own time. It's time that they were treated with the respect and the understanding that they deserve.
The
So, Ms.
only,
Justice, the motion on the table is for November 12th to be an undesignated work day. So
That's
that's
why
just
I'm
so,
talking this way, because I think that there's another alternative without costing. That's what a discussion is, without costing the teachers leave or pay, or the other staff too.
Ms. Craybill?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you just to ask two questions. One is if teachers have no leave saved up, then can they work with their principal to work remotely as long as they keep logs of the work that they've done and what, you know, while they've done at home. So, and then second part, it's not on the same line, but I did want Dr. Barnes, I'm sorry, if he would just reiterate what he put in the chat about the substitutes, because I do know that there is a concern that we may not have enough people in the building if we don't have enough subs. People are taking annual leave, you know, with kids there. And I know that some principals have already declined those those days. So we might see an uptick in sick people on November the 12th. So I'm just worried about that. So if two-part question, one about remote learning, remote teaching on Friday for those or remote work, and then two on the subs.
I guess the question, Mr. Shive, does that have to be built into the motion about the remote work?
I mean,
Or is that...
not necessarily. I think you would want to make sure that it's carried out consistently. I mean, supervisors, I think, can have the flexibility to work with their staff in terms of what that work day is going to look like. But then you might end up with different things happening in different schools, which could create some issues. But to Ms. Crable, your question about teachers, I think teachers are the easier part of the question, because I think it's very easy to say they can be at home and plan. I think that the where you have to get more creative is with respect to your non-teaching staff, especially your classified staff. What are the duties that you're going to assign to them that day? And that's where I think you'd have to look at professional development or some type of training or something that you could assign to them. Because obviously, bus drivers don't plan.
Right. And like custodians are 12 months anyway, so they're working. So we kind of got them kind of covered. And I guess cafeteria people, I mean, I'm not, maybe they have some cleanup work or planning work that they can do, but that's way out of my pay range.
So not to interrupt, but our job is to determine what are we doing with November 12th. So I would like to go ahead, and the motion on the table is for November 12th to be an undesignated work day with no flipping, no replacement date. There is a first and a second. Ms. Bowie, could you please call the roll, please?
Ms. Adams,
Aye.
Mr. Bullier,
Aye.
Ms. Justice,
No.
Ms. Craybill,
Yes.
Mr. McManus,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
and Mr. Wildebohr.
Yes.
All right, motion passes for January 12th to become an undesignated work day. We will call it a wellness day.
That's
for
November
teachers.
12th.
November 12th.
November
Sorry,
12th.
what did I just say? I'm sorry.
January.
Sorry, I'm looking at the calendar in front of me. November 12th, and it passes 6-1. Mr. Wildebohr, did you have a question too, or were you just correcting me?
No, that was before,
Okay.
so we're good.
Okay, great. Ms. Craybill, you have a hand up still. Are you good?
Oh, no, I don't. I can't see it, so I don't know. I'm going to take it off right now. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Faust, at this point, we would hope that the administration will work to develop the remote options for those Fridays for those that potentially are unable to take the day. And so I don't believe a vote is needed for that, you said, Colin? Just making sure we have a consistent plan across the district?
I don't believe so. No. And I think administration will just need to work to create a plan if that's what the board is asking administration to do.
To our teachers and staff, we see you. We know how hard you're working, and we know that it has been an incredibly difficult year. And we hope that this time will give you time to be calm, be quiet, enjoy some no student time. To our families, we know that this is a 2-week leeway time for you to figure out what to do with your children. We apologize that we couldn't give you more time in that decision, but we know that you support our teachers and staff and understand that this is really in the best interest for instruction for all of our New Hanover County Schools family. So anything else for the good of the board?
Thank you, Colin, for your suggestion.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Yes,
Yep.
Ms. Craybill.
Yeah, I just really wanted to make sure that that I know principals need to have autonomy in managing their work, their little building. But I hope that we will have some uniform guidelines around, the use of comp time, what remote looks like, and that would not be something for us to decide. But I know that Dr. Faustin and Dr. Barnes and the entire leadership staff will have some thoughts on that. I just wanted to, when you had asked, do we want to work through all those issues? And that's what Colin had suggested to us too. So I'm just wanted to reiterate that thank you to them for making this happen for our staff.
All right. Thank you very much. The final agenda item for today is adjournment. Do I hear a motion?
Move to adjourn, Mr. Bollier.
Thank you, Mr. Bollier.
Second,
And
Wildebohr.
second, Mr. Wildebohr. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Ms. Bowie, if you could
Aye.
call the roll.
Ms. Adams,
Aye.
Mr. Bullier,
Aye.
Ms. Justice, Ms. Craybill,
Aye.
Mr. McManus,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
and Mr. Wildebohr.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday and have a very safe Halloween weekend.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.